Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry.
Yo, what's poppin', all my peeps? It is I, your host, the most Renaissance man who always thinks he can, and your champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back once again in the Yard Streams for another edition of the Raw Rewind, presented to you by Pitts and Sara's Wrestling Show, where we take no nights off. And as I mentioned, it's not just me, Patty P, here in the Yard of Streams. I'm joined as always by the best of the West. You can't forget about Sara Marshall. What's popping, girl?
Hey, yo.
Hello.
What's popping?
It's popping. My work chat is popping right now. Jeez.
Yeah, you're a little busy before we hopped in the yard here. We're about to hop in the Yard of Streams to talk Raw on Netflix, and you got to go and leave us for another yard, maybe more like 100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
See what I did there?
Yeah. Sweet deal.
Yeah.
Great job.
I can be funny like sometimes. You got to speak the language. Once you speak Pitts, things get a lot funnier.
Alrighty. Whatever you say.
Just letting the peeps know as well.
One of my coworkers just said Liddy to
Liddy
me.
Titty.
No, just Liddy. Who said Liddy Titty?
I've been saying Liddy Titty.
No, but
since high school.
There was somebody wasn't there somebody like in WWE that said it or something? I can't remember. There was somebody who said that. Now I can't remember. I swear we had this conversation before.
Liddy Titty was definitely a thing. We'll figure it out.
Okay, yeah.
Well, to the peeps, we welcome you back into the Yard of Streams because we have been away. We were going to record on Saturday, but as we kind of just alluded to, football got in the way. All right, playoff football gets in the way. Jobs, not only my own, because that was busy this weekend, but Sara's as well with the football stuff.
Yeah, because I am helping out with the playoff teams. So the Patriots are not in, but last week I was helping with the Bucks, and this week I'll be helping with the Commanders. So still busy,
You're a busy gal.
Yeah.
Busy bad gal.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what
you do.
What you friggin' do.
That's what I do.
You know what else we do here? We hear from the peeps, Sara, before we hop into this chat. Curvin is not happy with what's going on with the flip-flop and flop-flipping of superstars between shows. We're going to mention that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because I'm with you, brother.
I'm not so much.
To a degree. I'm not saying I completely agree. I'm just saying to a degree. I'm with you.
To a degree.
Yes.
Let me see which one of Sophia's comments here. Green DIY WWE t-shirt. Love it. Love to see that for Christmas. I want gifts. What's poppin', David? Oh, Sophia. Well, we have the affiliate link down below. So next time that your mom, yourself, or any one of your peeps want to buy something from the WWE shop, use our link in the description below. Help us help you. All right? Help us help you, Sophia.
Yeah.
Jay was popping. What's popping, my dude? Lot is popping, Sara, in the world of wrestling. I mean, I could just sit here and we could go right into talking about Raw from last night. But as I mentioned before, because we're a little busy over the weekend with our professional lives and personal lives, we missed a couple things that happened. We missed a couple things. So we kind of needed to bring that up. That's why we're going on air.
Let's go back.
We're just going right in.
We're going back. Yeah. Yeah, well, this I guess we could talk about with Raw, so I'll move this down. Anyway, so we want to talk about SmackDown, things that happened over the weekend that we would have otherwise talked about. So let's talk about. Okay, we'll talk about because there was the TNA WWE partnership, which we kind of spoke about. They had their.
This is big news.
Yeah, Genesis was over the weekend, right? And or last week, whatever. And perhaps the biggest news, at least when you're talking about WWE, is that Jordynne Grace had her final match with TNA when she lost the title to that other girl. And and
you there it is.
There, yeah. And there it is. So the rumors have been circulating for a long time anyway, since TNA and NXT WWE did their partnership last year, that Jordynne Grace was going to be on her way to WWE at some point, but no one really knew, or at least according to the dirt sheets and whatnot, they didn't really know when her contract was up and whatnot. Obviously, it is now. So it seems inevitable that she's on her way to WWE. Not to mention the Royal Rumble is in 11 days. So it's like, well,
my watch is
last year. She was in the Rumble last year. It only feels like it feels likely that's what's going to happen again.
It's very likely. It's all but signed on the dotted line, essentially. Yeah, Jordynne Grace's match between her and I'll go TB. We won't say the full name for respect to the show. We'll go TB.
Okay.
Genesis, which by the way was the best women's match on the card. Go back and watch, seriously. That match was absolutely incredible and a hell of a last match for Jordynne Grace to have in TNA. And then she comes behind the curtain, is greeted by the entire locker room, walks right by TB, which was the highlight of the entire IWC. And she's gifted a special Knockouts championship with signed by multiple people, whatnot. That she's out. She's gone. She's inevitably going to
the next chapter
in her life.
Yeah.
She's going to the next chapter. Mm-hmm. And it's all but certain that it is going to be WWE. Obviously you can make you can say because of the partnership that TNA and WWE have, but this isn't the case. This is the case where Jordynne Grace is I would say, biggest women's wrestling star in the world right now, like star power, everything, and exactly what WWE is looking for. The Royal Rumble for her to make her debut as a WWE superstar seems all but likely. And while we're on the topic of it, Sarah, I want your opinion on this, because a lot of people have been saying that Rhea Ripley and Liv was going to be the case for WrestleMania. A lot of people are making the argument for Io Sky and Rhea Ripley to be a championship match at WrestleMania. Why not just throw Jordynne Grace to the Wolves and have her in a match with Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania?
I don't hate it. I think that we've kind of we kind of tried to, I don't know, come up with some sort of idea of the direction that the women's Royal Rumble might go in, and who's going to win and who are they going to pick. And the only ones we thought of were like what you said. And then of course, Charlotte, because we believe that Charlotte will be returning.
But that's Tiffy, so Rumble.
Yeah. But still, there's only one women's winner. So it's like, she could easily pick Tiffany, but I think if Jordynne Grace comes in, the assumption is just like if Charlotte comes in, it's like, okay, well, if she wins, she's going to pick Tiffany. She's not going to pick Rhea. It feels like if Jordynne came in, then Jordynne's going to pick Rhea, and why not just do it now instead of holding off, I like it because also Jordynne doesn't have to win right away either, but it's like, I would argue that it's almost the first real opponent that Rhea would have, equally matched opponent since she faced Charlotte. it's almost like, I mean, other than like Nia, maybe, but everybody else, they're just like smaller than her, not as strong, not as dominating. So it's like it's never really been a fair fight for Rhea, but going against Jordan would be. It's like a um WrestleMania match, you know.
It's a WrestleMania match for sure. I'm interested to see if they would pull the trigger on it this year.
Yeah.
And you mentioned I wanted to, you make a good point with the size, size comparison with different women that Rhea has fought in the past that isn't really Charlotte or Nia. Bianca too, but that's only a handful out of the entire roster.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan is not big, but she is a powerhouse.
She's strong.
She's very strong.
Yeah.
She could lift 3 of me. And when you go up against someone like Rhea Ripley, you have to have that type of strength. And could you imagine the performance that they would put on? It would legitimately feel like a match we've never seen before in WWE.
Yeah, especially with women. I think that's the thing. I think that's why so many people wanted to see Beth Phoenix versus Rhea. You know, like.
But yeah, but it's different.
Well, no, but all I'm saying is like, it's because they have that like equal aura about them where it's like, okay, they're bigger, they're stronger women. Like they don't look like 1980s Hulk Hogan or like, you know what I mean? But like they're definitely far more dominating in the women's division than 99% of their coworkers. So I think that is good, and Jordan would be a great addition to Raw because, as we've said, like Raw has really been struggling in the women's division compared to SmackDown, and it's gotten worse since Becky left because obviously that's a huge star to be gone. And so if Charlotte's coming back and she's going to SmackDown, then they're gonna have to do something about Raw. So Jordan going to Raw, I think, is like perfect. And they could do something, like even if she doesn't win the Rumble, there's a possibility that they just go with Charlotte, even though I feel like I would lose my mind. Like, even though I want to see her versus Tiffany, I still wouldn't be mad if like Charlotte had to get to Tiffany through the Elimination Chamber. I would much rather it feel like she truly earned it rather than that's just like being given, the Mania
given
match
the
opportunity. From the Rumble. Yes.
Yeah.
But if that's the direction they go in, Jordan could very easily win the Elimination Chamber to face Rhea, and there might be more storyline there to actually have an Elimination Chamber match to go after Rhea as opposed to going after Tiffany. So I feel like no matter what, if she debuts in the Rumble, she's gonna have something probably at Mania, and it feels like it's like a win-win situation for her no matter what the result of the Rumble is.
You got me thinking about Jordan Grace inside the Elimination Chamber. That would be electric.
And I think there might be, like I said, more storyline potential there just because of like, Rhea now has beef with Nia. You could say she has beef with Liv. So like those are two people that could be in the Elimination Chamber. You could put Jordan Grace in there. You could even have Bayley in there because she just got moved, which we'll talk about. She doesn't have beef, but they don't all have to have beef with Rhea.
No, you're just fighting for one thing.
Yeah, but like Tiffany is so new to being champion. She hasn't had those established feuds just yet. So like it feels it would probably be better to have Charlotte win. But I guess
I'm excited. I'm excited because I don't know and I can't predict it. So I'm in.
Well, and then we're also excited about our guy Joe Hendry finally becoming TNA World Champion as he beat Nick Nemeth / Dolph Ziggler. Don't know what we should call him because of this TNA WWE partnership, and they're like promoting.
I'm so interested. I'm so interested to see how they're going to address this.
It's very confusing because like, you've been so conditioned as a WWE fan that like what their name is in WWE, that's all that we acknowledge. I mean,
that is their government name. That is what I was conditioned with growing up. That is their government name.
I mean, even they did it with Cody, right? When Cody returned after being gone for 6 years, and it was like, we had to pretend that Cody just fell off the face of the planet for 6 years, that he didn't do anything else.
Did Graves or Michael Cole say that he didn't wrestle for 7 years? Like, this is his first time in a ring in 7 years. Like, no.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, is that what we're gonna do with Nick / Dolph? I don't know. It'll be interesting. But yes, Joe Hendry is finally a champion, and I guess, other than being excited and like happy for him, obviously it's been a long time coming. I'm kind of curious to see like how this reign is going to go, because you could almost argue that it would have been better if he won this a couple months ago when he was literally everywhere. I said you could argue.
No, I'm letting you go. I'm letting you go.
Okay. Because he was everywhere. He was on top of the world. He was trending here and he was trending for WWE and whatever. And I think that would have been the easiest thing. Like, you're taking advantage of that. And I mean, if this reign for some reason falls flat or fails, whatever, then I think that you have more of an argument. But I also think that when you have somebody that could be at some point categorized as like, the flavor of the week or the trend right now, like a Joe Hendry, it's better to hold off on giving them, like the biggest prize of all, to see, okay, how long can people stay invested in this guy? Like, are people caring because his song is catchy and he's trending? Or are people actually interested in like his character work and what he's doing in the ring, and they actually want to see more than just, his funny song in the video, And I think that is what they did with him. And it was, I mean, if you listen to the reaction when he won, I mean, it's not like people hate Nick Nemeth. So it's like, no, that fan reaction, that fan support is still there, even if you believe that maybe 3 months ago he should have won.
It shows how TNA continues to step up their game, and they're not getting complacent with just being TNA, and one of the ways they did that is with this Joe Hendry win. To have him lose at Bound for Glory and have the interference and all that bullshit, you're pissed. It felt very similar to Cody losing at WrestleMania 39, where watching the pay-per-view, the build-up to the main event, the video package before, they made it seem like it was this dude's final opportunity to get a shot at this, or else he's never going to be a wrestler again. Like, the emotion that they had you in with this match, and that's what they got right with it. And the outside nonsense, I like to say, that got in the way of Frankie Kazarian having the TNA's version of Money in the Bank. It's called Call Your Shot. He brought that trophy out and was going to cash it in. And then JBL coming in to play pretty much the sheriff of, laying down the law, and knocking him out. So the show, like, it all felt like on a very, 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 very minor scale, it felt like WrestleMania 40 in the sense that a shift in TNA has been made, that this is a new era and it's time to get on board and recognize them as the number 2 wrestling promotion in America right now.
I think they have a fair argument, honestly.
I mean, fair argument, Sarah. It's clear as day. I'm sorry. I don't give a shit about TV deals. I don't give a shit about if you're streaming on Max or if you're got this TV deal with TNT. That's fine and dandy. It's about numbers and it's about ticket sales.
Well,
and numbers and ticket sales are not in the elite company's favor.
Well, and that's the thing, is like, we've talked about the competition of AEW, and people immediately leapfrogged over TNA, and it was like, oh no, AEW, the only competition they have is WWE. And it's like, no, That's not how it goes, you know? And I get that TNA wasn't in the position that it's in right now when AEW kicked off, but I do think that there's an argument to be made that they are putting out better product on a weekly basis than AEW is. But again, it's really not a conversation that you can have like in a meaningful or constructive way because people are so hell-bent on
the
their own
tribalism
opinions. Yes, and that's the thing is like
insane.
every promotion has cult-like followings, obviously. You know, people will defend WWE till the end of time just like they will in AEW. But yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation, but a lot of people don't.
Oh, I would love to have that conversation. I mean, I just had a great conversation with a best friend of the show, Sara. He said it, his words, not mine. Best friend of the show, Ryan Gosling, about MLW and how they're really trying to make a name for themselves. And the product they're putting out is pretty damn good too. So there's a lot of great wrestling going on. It's all about finding it.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, people don't want to really have
they don't
want
to step outside. No,
they
don't like to get critical about things they love. But to grow as a person, you have to be very critical of things you love the most.
Yeah. Sorry, work.
Boom. Well, you know what? I get it. Josh McDaniels is a lot.
Yeah.
Is a lot better than me. All right.
Sorry.
I get it.
Okay. So moving fully into SmackDown now. I thought this was an interesting conversation because
yeah, I didn't expect this.
It's so the WWE's decision to take the US title off of LA Knight when they did, and not even just that, it was the fact that it was Shinsuke Nakamura, got people really riled up at the time. I think people are still at that point because of what they're doing or what they're not doing with LA Knight right now. And so that gets people like super emotional about this, and I don't blame them. But I do think that this is what I feared, I think, with that decision. Like you've said, you know, a lot of people felt that as great as it was that LA Knight was the US champion, that he finally won the championship that people thought he should have won a year before, that it felt like he kind of outgrew it. Like when he got it, it was great because it was finally recognizing all the hard work that he's put in to finally get to this point. But it kind of felt like, okay, yeah, it should have happened a year ago. Like that felt fitting for LA Knight more so than now, where you could put him in the main event title picture. And, you know, it felt like the US title was kind of weighing him down, and they didn't really give him like a really great reign. It was just a great accomplishment that he could finally like check off. So that was why some people were like, okay, you know, taking that title off of him it's fine because he's going to go on to bigger and better things. More people were upset that it was Shinsuke Nakamura that took the title off of him. And I really enjoy what Shinsuke was doing, like how he's being presented in this new like samurai version of him. But I also feel like they're not really making it interesting or making it seem like they had a solid plan. And by the way, the mic is picking up your TV super loud.
I got AirPods in. I'm going to hear you while I.
Okay, because sometimes I feel like I need to talk over it.
No, because. Yeah, I'm just gonna end it there.
Okay,
yeah, you're right. You're
right.
You go.
Anyway, so I think, you know, as great as whatever Shinsuke is doing right now, because I would argue that it's good work. It to me, it just feels like they almost made a rash decision with LA Knight, and they're like, okay, let's take the title off him. We want him to do other things, and let's put it on Nakamura. But that they didn't have a plan of what they were going to do with Nakamura. So it feels like the US title is like fallen into obscurity again. And it felt like with the back and forth between Melo and Andrade and stuff like that was good. And the triple threat was good, but it definitely, I would say, highlighted the US title in a way that we all had been longing for. But I kind of feel like we're back at that point again. Like people do not care. And I don't know if it's just from like a lack of proper preparation for what they were going to do post LA Knight reign, or if it simply is because people aren't like super excited about Shinsuke Nakamura. But
it's, to me, it feels not that they don't care about the US title, but that they don't have anyone that could challenge Nakamura right now where you believe they could take the title off them. Even with Carmelo Hayes or even Andrade. Like, do you really, maybe Andrade more than Melo, but for Melo, like if Melo was to get into a program with Nakamura, it would be awesome. I truly believe those two would have a lot of chemistry in the ring. But right now, do you believe that Carmelo Hayes is going to take it off him? No, you're not.
yeah,
You don't believe. Yeah, you could dig deep down in your fandom and believe that Andrade could become the next United States champion, but no, because Nakamura just took it off, and then there's logistics, and you get in your head, and when
he's
you're in
had
your
it
head,
for
you're dead.
50 days now, though. He's been
That's
champion
a
for
decent amount of time.
That's
But
what I mean. Like, unless they're gonna do something
without
big,
doing anything, that is a long time without doing anything
that's what I mean. Like,
substantial.
it feels irresponsible in a way. That's what I mean. It's like there was nothing wrong with LA Knight being United States champion because it put a title on him that people felt like he long deserved, and you were going to put him on TV anyway. So that meant that you were going to have the US championship on TV every single week. So at least that was reminding people that the title was not dead, you know? And even if he wasn't like actively involved in storylines every week, whatever, like you still put him on TV. And this is just kind of like you took the title off him, you had no plans for LA Knight, and then you are not doing anything of substance really with Nakamura. So what are we doing? That's the thing. It's like I think that's the biggest issue that I have, and I don't know if that's really echoing a lot of concerns from other people, but like I would be happier, I think, if like Nakamura was actually doing a lot more during this than he is right now, and then it wouldn't feel as much of like a blow to LA Knight or to the US title if it was like, okay, well, he's doing really good work right now. So like even though you know, whoever might be a bigger fan of LA Knight, you can't really argue like Nakamura is killing it. And that I feel like is not the case right now. So it's like a complicated position, you know?
It is very complicated.
Yeah.
Very complicated. I would agree.
Oh, I was just like trying to look at comments really quick. Then who hurt Jade Cargill? I think that is getting spicy. And
I think the glow.
Okay,
affected her.
this is the thing. So there are a lot of people. Some people trying to say that it was Charlotte. I don't think Charlotte's going to have anything to do with it. As great as Jade versus Charlotte could be in the future, I still think that they're going to want Charlotte versus Tiffany at Mania. So it doesn't really make any sense for her to get involved in this Jade situation, especially because she took her out of the tag team division tourney, whatever. Like that didn't in the US, or I'm sorry, the US title. Charlotte might love a title, but she don't love those mid-card titles. Let's be real. She's not taking someone out of the mid-card title tourney.
She doesn't love it that much. She would rather have someone just give it to her.
And she wants the big girl title. She doesn't want the mid girl title, you know. But
like
I do
for
think
Mercedes
that it's
getting a Honda.
So, excuse me, sorry, my neck. So I think that there is definitely potential legs to it being Naomi. However, I feel like rumors online, I mean, amongst fans, they kind of peaked this last week when those new shirts for Bianca Belair were released. And they were not the typical, like, girly, cool, brightly colored type of stuff that she's had in the past. It was, I would say, I mean, as far as WWE t-shirts go, if you're a fan of Bianca, I would say they are definitely one of the more wearable t-shirts that WWE has made that doesn't look like, oh, you're just a wrestling fan. Like it just looks like a cool vintagey looking shirt. However, they looked more like a heel persona. They were black. She has sunglasses on. Like, she looks more tough. Like, she's not smiley. She's not like playing with her hair. So I was
it's
like,
all business.
I know. So I was
Sorry,
like,
it's
is
all
this a hint?
business?
Because WWE Shop has dropped hints and spoiled a lot of stuff over the past like year or two. I mean, they dropped
Penta?
they dropped Penta before anyone
Like,
confirmed that.
hours before his debut, alleged.
Yeah.
The worst kept secret in wrestling. Yes.
And then also though, they did it with like Rhea when she like had broken her orbital bone. They like came back. It was like Mommy's back or whatever. They came out with something like that, and it was like, oh, Rhea returns tonight, I guess. It was like they just keep doing it. So I normally wouldn't, sit like, oh, I think that this conspiracy or whatever could potentially be there, but this feels like something that it could be there, and I don't hate it simply because one, I feel like I want to see a Bianca heel turn so bad because I feel like she could kill it, and two, do we really want to act like WWE doesn't want to do Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania? Of course they do. Of course they do. And if they could do that this year when it makes the most sense, you're gonna do it, So I'm into it. If it's, I mean, Naomi wouldn't be bad either, but I feel like the story more so goes with Bianca.
Story goes with Bianca this year. It just makes more sense for what happened. And they can do a better build up heading into Mania than the build up that you would have for Charlotte versus Jade. Just to have Charlotte versus Jade, just to have it, yeah, it's great, but it's very what's the word I'm looking for?
Premature.
Stupid. Not immature. Yeah, that premature.
Like, we'll see it eventually. They already teased it, but I feel like
it'll fucking happen.
We haven't even really seen Jade do any singles stuff, really, since she came to WWE. So, yeah, establish her against like her former partner first, and then like have her move on from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just go to the top floor from the lobby.
Yeah.
Sarah. You have to use either steps or an elevator. Point is, you have to move up in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think that seems like the most interesting scenario for all parties, honestly, especially with what we think is going to be going on with Tiffany from, between the Rumble and Mania. They're going to need another like big storyline with the women. Bailey moved to Raw. We might see Nia be moved to Raw. She's been spending a lot of time there. So
I think she is. I think she's on Raw. I think her, yeah.
We'll see. I don't like Charlotte, but I mention her a lot. Well, she's coming back. So
yeah, but because she's top tier. Just because you don't like something that's top tier.
I'm not a fan of Charlotte. I give her a lot of credit, obviously, for her talent. I don't have to be a fan though. Byron says, people ask, has there ever been someone that has done close to what Stone Cold Steve Austin has done? To me, the closest is Seth Rollins. Ooh, you know what?
In what way, though? What does that mean?
Yeah, but also, I think Seth Rollins is a solid pick. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it would be better
close to what Steve Austin did. What does that mean?
Well, yeah. Explain in further detail, Byron.
I need more deets.
So another thing from SmackDown was the past couple weeks really has been the intense progression of Jacob Fatu, going from a guy that said nothing to the guy that only said I love you solo to now cutting promos, almost rivaling or you could even say doing better than Roman Reigns.
I was gonna say Solo.
Well, I'm not going to do that because that's just shitting on Solo for no reason. Roman does not deliver solid promos all the time. I don't care what anyone says. Okay,
it's different character. I'm sorry, it's different.
We're talking tribal. Stop. Okay,
no,
whatever.
It's different.
Stop. Okay,
you're not wrong, but you're not right.
I'm not. Okay, whatever. Anyway, they're clearly trying to go in a new direction here. We're seeing obviously Tonga Loa is injured, so he is not around. So Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu have become the new buddies. Leaving Solo out, And that led to Solo walking out on them last week. And I don't know that we're really going to be seeing anything, about like they're not going to be fighting for the Ulafala. Obviously, that was settled with Roman and Solo. But it does look like Jacob Fatu is trying to like take control of his life and take control of his career in WWE. And he no longer wants to necessarily be answering to Solo. And Tama is along with him, which I'm obsessed with because yeah. And I'm so into this. Like, I feel kind of bad for Solo, obviously, because I'm gonna have a soft spot for Solo. But
You are. That was your choice.
Yeah, someone said I was a Solo stan. I'm like, I'm not a stan of Solo, okay, but I do love Solo. I am curious to see where this goes because it does feel like he's trying to establish himself as a leader somewhat. I mean, the group is small, obviously, it's just the three of them now. But I'm curious to see where they're gonna go with this. Like, is he going to feud with Roman? Is he going to go elsewhere? Because I mean, he's just like kicking ass and taking names right now, you know. But I'm curious because again, you would assume that they're gonna want Jacob Fatu at Mania, but it's like, what are we gonna do to get there, and who's he gonna be fighting with?
There's so many different people that I would like to see him go up against at WrestleMania, but the problem is that he is stuck currently in that bloodline vortex. However, it seems that that's kind of disintegrating, and
I
we're
think we're
just
gonna have to
getting.
see a match between like Solo and Jacob for that to be like officially over.
But that's what I like. It comes to mind because of the presentation we saw from Tama and Jacob, that it seems that they're just in the bloodline, but they're just their own person.
Yeah.
Which I hope they go in that direction, because companies outside of WWE, it is one thing they do very well,
Mm-hmm.
is that just because you have a group of people together, they have an identity within that group, or
Mm-hmm.
outside of that group, I mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that could, I mean, I think if they want to keep the bloodline thing going, like it doesn't have to be what we've been seeing. It could be this is like the evolution of the bloodline where it's like it's always there and they're always going to have each other's back, but it's not like they're answering to one person anymore. And there's
Yeah.
going to be some sort of turmoil anyway because Solo lost the Ulafala. So there's an argument from Jacob and Tama that we don't have to answer to you, brother.
But that
Like,
motherfucker didn't even speak.
it's like, yeah, they
Not
don't
even
have
a
to do
word.
anything. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, if they're going to end it, which I don't hate ending it because it kind of feels like Roman winning it back somewhat ended it, but obviously it doesn't because Solo is still doing whatever and he brought in the Tongans. So like that is a whole separate part of the bloodline. So something has to happen to cap that off. And I don't know what that's going to be, but I'm interested to see what it is. And I hope that they do it well. That's the thing, is like anything with the bloodline that didn't have Roman directly involved wasn't always the best. So I don't have high hopes, but I do feel like if we're not going to continue with this storyline that has been dominating WWE for the past 5 years, it feels like, okay, well, do it justice by like ending it the right way,
Exactly.
Anyway,
I
okay.
like
And then,
this.
oh, sorry. Go ahead. What?
I like this idea. I'm a big fan of that.
I mean, that's possible. I almost prefer that direction. Like you could, if you can't get Rock versus Roman at Mania, get Jacob Fatu versus Roman. People will want to see that. You know what I mean?
That would be such an interesting match. That's two very different styles, but
And Jacob is
still,
so
like,
much better. So much better. I just saw that man doing flips against Penta. Okay. And that man had 50 pounds more on how big he is now.
Wasn't that when Penta did do a little stint in MLW? Wasn't that was it in MLW or TNA?
I think it was, I don't know. It looked like it might have been an indie show. I don't know, but I quickly saw it. I wasn't like looking it up. I was just like, oh wait, what? And I
That's
saw
what I'm
him doing
saying.
like
Like,
flips and shit, and I was like,
Yeah,
What
if
is
you
happening?
haven't, that's the thing about the WWE fandom or fans. I mean, that are so into WWE that when you have these guys like Jacob Fatu and Penta come in, you just see them do WWE stuff, which is completely different than the shit that they're doing on the indies, which
Mhm.
is way more insane.
Well, but I also think that it's like, it's like it's an old school thing too, where heels are not allowed to do like everything that they are capable of doing in the ring, because part of their biggest job is to put their opponent over, and so they can't outshine them. So that's part of why I feel like, if you look at like a Jacob Fatu or whatever, like we've seen some crazy stuff from him, but a lot of it was like showy spot, you know what I mean, where he's like jumping from this to that. It's not like, oh, that's just what he does in a match, you know what I mean? And I think part of that is like, yeah, because they don't want him to up show his opponent. So
Oh
I'm
no,
kind
they
of
can't.
excited for when maybe that's not always a thing, because I don't think it should necessarily always matter. I think it depends on the story. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that Jacob Fatu is going to make somebody look bad because, like, oh, he can do all this stuff in the ring and whoever he's against can't. Like, okay, well, I'm sure that guy can do stuff that Jacob can't, you know? It's like you understand it, but I think there's a time and place for it.
Absolutely.
Um, oh, yeah.
Oh,
Roman
oh.
versus Drew or Punk at Mania. Jacob and the Tongans versus the Usos. I mean, I don't hate this idea simply because we've been talking about the likelihood of Roman versus Punk simply because of what happened at Survivor Series and the Paul Heyman part in all of it. I also wouldn't hate it to be Drew. I don't know how that would happen.
I
Um,
don't want to see Drew versus Roman.
I wouldn't hate it simply because Drew deserves to be in a position like that. However, I'm saying, like, as far as what we've seen so far, I don't know how we get to that where it makes sense. So that's why I would
Correct.
say it probably is more so Roman versus Punk. I also don't hate like Jacob and Tama, because Tonga Loa is injured, versus the Usos, because that feels like the way to like introduce them to a WrestleMania, you know what I mean? Or like at a WrestleMania, as opposed to just like throwing Jacob Fatu into a singles match and like that's his first Mania. It feels like that's kind of like what they try to do now. It's like slowly introduce them, and then it's like, oh, next year, look at what they did. They were in a tag match last year. This year, they're in a solo match, something like that. But I don't know. I don't hate Roman versus Punk. I just hate the like the idea of like Punk potentially having to win. Like, no, just no. Okay, so let's move on to Raw. Now that we're here, I just have
Yeah,
a,
Sarah.
I
What
just
do you
have a
want?
rant. It's just, I've said it a million times. Okay, but I'm so sick of it. I'm just so sick of it. Okay, first of all, I don't find this storyline between Gunther and Jey Uso interesting. I just don't. It's the same thing that we saw when he was going for the Intercontinental Championship. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing of like, I need to prove myself. I need to prove that I'm not just a tag team guy. I want to have a singles championship. Like, blah blah blah. Like, it's just like not interesting anymore to me as someone who's not like a big Jey Uso fan. Like, obviously I appreciate, like, obviously he's killing it, but as someone who doesn't actively sit there and cheer for him, like, I'm not invested in that anymore. Like, if I had any emotion for that, it's gone because you already won the Intercontinental title. Um, and I feel like this is a fine one-off for Gunther. Clearly, they're not going to have him at the Rumble, or if he's there, he's not going to be participating in anything. So they're doing this at Saturday night's main event.
Yeah.
But I'm getting sick of them making him look weak. And the biggest problem that I have with it is that they did not do that at all through NXT. And they did not do that at all when he was Intercontinental Champion. So I take issue with it that now he has the biggest title in the land, and now we're seeing him get like nervous. Now we're seeing a Jey Uso like slap him in the face and like push him out of the ring. Like, this feels backwards to me. It feels like if this was going to happen, this should have happened when he had the smaller championship that he then made gigantic, rather than like, oh, he's the guy on Raw and now he's like getting his ass handed to him by a guy in like skinny jeans. Like, I don't dig it. I don't dig it at all. And I know I say this all the time. I try to just be like, okay, it's fine. Whatever.
You try to get down with the yeet, but
I'm not down with the yeet. I'm team no yeet. I like Big Jim. But I'm trying not to care about it. It's just that it's like, I think as somebody who is a big fan of Gunther, and I've said it a million times, the fact that he's has great matches. So this has nothing to do with matches, but he's had a mediocre title reign so far. They haven't given him like proper feuds or storylines. Like, he just keeps getting given these like random people to have matches with, and then they're making him look like an idiot. Like, that's the problem that I have. It's not working for me. It's not looking like he's this dominant, scary guy that people should fear because he's the champion, the way that they did when he was Intercontinental Champion. And I don't understand why you would do the complete opposite when he has a bigger title now.
I am kind of on the other side of the fence here.
I know, you're always on the other side.
But here's the thing, but not because I believe that Jey Uso is going to dethrone him.
Yeah, Jay, in the comments, we see you. Gunther doesn't suck. Sorry.
He doesn't suck. And that's
no
a
matter
great
how
transition.
many times you come in the chat and say it, it's not going to make it true.
And that's a great transition, Jay, into my point that Gunther doesn't suck. Gunther needs to have wins and dominant wins over guys like Jey Uso. It will only strengthen the aura that is Gunther. It will only help his title reigns. No, you think he's losing because Jay is doing a fantastic job right now in that role. And you have to think too, what the hell is Jey Uso gonna do with a world title right before the Royal Rumble in Build to Mania season when he's not your top 3 biggest star in the company? And star, I don't mean fan favorite. I don't mean merch seller. Well, I mean star. He's and that's not the
argument. That's the argument to be made, that just because the fans love you and you can get an entire arena to like do your entrance, that does not mean you are the face of the company or that you should be the world champion. You know what I mean? Like, you're super over, you sell t-shirts, fans love you. That doesn't then translate into like, yes, give them all the titles. Like, that's not how this works. So
here's what I found. Sorry to cut you off, but I've been looking for this to strengthen my whole argument of just because Gunther's reign has seemed a little bit boring right now. We're still pretty early on into it. And if you look at his title reigns in other companies and even in the sub companies within WWE, he was UK champion for 870 days. He was Intercontinental Champion for 666 days. He is World Heavyweight Champion for currently 172 days. When you look, and then before that, Progress unified as Walter. I forget where Progress is. I think it's in Europe. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Point is, that title reign was 417 days. Gunther is not someone who just has like 100-day title reign and it's over. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not who Gunther / Walter is.
That's
for
not
the
something.
People, not
yeah, no, it's not something I'm concerned about. Like, obviously, a part of me is like, oh crap, they're gonna have him lose. I really don't think that's what's going to happen. I'm just more so bothered about like what they're doing with him and as the champion. That's the issue that I take, because I just feel like they did such a good job with him as Intercontinental Champion, and a good chunk of that was when Triple H was overseeing it, even if it wasn't just him and Vince was still peering around or whatever. They still did a really good job with like making him an indestructible force as the Intercontinental Champion and made it into a title that we said almost rivaled the WWE and or World Heavyweight title. And so I was hoping that because they did that with him with a lesser title, with the mid-card title, that we were going to see like a replication of that as World Heavyweight Champion. Didn't have to follow the same recipe, you know what I mean? But like, I just feel like they're doing such a bad job about like continuing that. And it's like, I don't know. I understand that I'm completely biased, but I just have had higher hopes for this, and I really hope that, assuming that he beats Jay on Saturday, I really hope that whatever they choose to do with him after that, and whatever they're going to end up having him do for the Rumble, Elimination Chamber, Mania, whatever, is good. It's solid. Like, it makes sense, and it makes him look dominant in the way that he had been previously. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's just what I hope. I just want to see them do better. That's all.
We want to see. I agree. We always want to see people do better, Sarah.
Richard says he feasted on mid-carders. Triple H wasn't going to do the same thing with the main event talent. I mean, I get it, but also they have so many people intertwined with the World Heavyweight title picture right now. And I think that we're also being picky and choosy with because like how many other main eventers will squash other main eventers or like beat main eventer after main eventer after main eventer. So to say that isn't going to happen, it's more so you're saying, or at least I'm not saying that's what you're saying, Richard, but it's more so you're saying like, yeah, Gunther's not going to do that. Well, why? If you have the World Heavyweight title on him, you consider him a face of the company. You consider him a face of your brand, of your show. And you are saying he's a main eventer. So why can't he have matches with main eventers and beat them? Why? Like, that's the only way to prove that he is a dominant guy as champion. He can't just beat Jey Uso and Chad Gable and Otis and like whoever. Like, he can't just keep beating them.
Doesn't happen. That gets boring. See, then that gets boring. And then we're complaining about him just having these easy matches. You're never going to win.
Well, and that's not like Seth Rollins doesn't do that. Cody Rhodes doesn't do that. Roman Reigns wasn't doing that. You know what I mean? It feels like that shouldn't then be the standard for Gunther. That feels more of like a slight to Gunther than anything else. But
correct.
So we mentioned this earlier that Bayley officially has been transferred to Raw. And I think that was a good decision. We talked about plenty of times that the SmackDown women's roster had way too much talent on it compared to Raw, and that the Raw women's division was struggling. So I think Bayley was the right move, especially because we don't know what's going on with Becky at this point. Assuming she comes back and she'll come back to Raw. We don't know when that's going to happen. And I don't think anyone has a complaint about this. I think more so, which we had the comment, before we went live, of people complaining about the draft process. And I understand like why there's this argument to be made that like, oh, this is why we don't take it seriously because they just randomly do this and whatever. The only thing that I can say about in WWE's argument is they did let us know that they were going to have a transfer portal like over a month ago.
They gave us heads up.
It was like a month or two ago, and it took them this long to finally announce something happening because nobody had been moved. I think that's not a bad idea because I think the decisions that they make on draft night look really good on paper. And it might seem good at first, but then as the shows progress, you can kind of be like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have moved this person, or maybe we put too many, girls on SmackDown and they need to have some more talent on Raw. So it feels like it's not a bad idea to transfer people because once you get to a point where you can kind of tell, we made some mistakes here, then I think it's appropriate because Raw does need somebody like Bayley.
They do. And the biggest thing with the transfer portal is that it gives talent screen time, and it gives them the opportunity to appear on different networks or streaming services where it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to us, the wrestling fan, because we're the fan. We're just watching you. We don't care what network or what screen you're on in my television. We're just happy that you're on the screen. Where you got to think of it from the wrestler's perspective that they're going to be on Netflix now. They're going to be on USA Network. They're going to be on national television, and it's a stepping stone for them. And then in that regard, it shows how much the company can trust them moving forward. That's all it is. And you take someone like, for instance, Bailey, who, yeah, she could be on SmackDown and be the face of the SmackDown brand on USA, but her talents are really more geared towards Raw and Netflix. She seems like someone that would really thrive on the brand right now. So to have her just be sitting there on SmackDown just for the Wrestleverse to be happy, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Well, and they're teasing her feuding with Roxanne. So it looks like, okay, well, you assumed Roxanne lost the title. She's done in NXT, or at least she'll be called up at some point, whether it be before Mania or with the draft. And so they're clearly trying to kind of gauge, like, okay, how are the fans going to react to Bailey and Roxanne and the idea of this happening? And like, is Roxanne really ready for the main event scene, because she is only like 22, 23 years old.
And is her nickname speaks for herself.
Yeah.
Like, she legit is a prodigy.
Yeah,
she's the longest reigning before Athena. She is the longest reigning Ring of Honor Women's Champion.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Like, that's a big deal.
So I think, adding Bailey and then maybe throwing Roxanne at her like right away, like those are two solid additions right there. And I think when we're going to complain about the draft, I agree a lot of the time with some of the things that they do with the draft and how the things that they do afterwards kind of counteract what they're trying to sell you on draft night. However, you also can't really account for like injuries and stuff like that. So like Charlotte getting injured, that's like a huge problem on SmackDown. But then they brought in Jade and they added her to SmackDown. So then it's like, okay, there's a lot of talent. Then you have Becky leaving for a substantial amount of time. That's a huge hole on Raw, and it was already a problem. So moving somebody like Bailey at a point where it's like there are circumstances out of their control, to me, it's like, okay, well, I can't really argue about semantics at this point. Like, it is what it is.
Ooh, Byron, that's a good chat. Now, that's a good chat. Roxanne winning Money in the Bank is not a terrible idea. For her to be in the match itself is a fantastic idea. But to win it, there we go. Now that's a good comment.
Those are one of the things that I feel like, we've said Money in the Bank feels like something that you give to somebody that like they need that elevation. You know what I mean? And I don't think that, you could argue that Roxanne is not at a point where it's like, oh, she definitely needs the Money in the Bank. However, given how she was booked in NXT and how many times she was champion and the fact that she's been like the face of the women's division down there for so long, I don't anticipate them just like having her linger and be a mid-card girly for that long. So like immediately make her the Money in the Bank champion, like winner. You know what I mean? Like that makes more sense to me than maybe somebody else that would be called up.
Correct. What's up, Final Boss?
What is up?
Pal? Good to see you.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, this is an argument that we can talk about also.
Well, we just talked about Bailey, and Bailey in her backstage interview announced that she will be declaring herself in the Royal Rumble this year, entering herself in the Royal Rumble this year. It's the first mention that we've heard of the Women's Royal Rumble, really.
Well, didn't Nia say she was going to be in the Royal Rumble? I think they're like the only two.
This is the second part. This is the second time. Never mind.
Okay. I think that it's
I'm
only
sure
the two of them who have like really declared for the Rumble. Meanwhile, like half of the roster of men have already said that they're going to be in the Rumble. I mean,
and it's got
every
to be the
top
biggest one.
dude that's not a champion has said that they were going to be in the men's Rumble. So that's
Yeah.
that's a problem. Like, I am somebody that I don't really care if you declare for the Rumble or not. Like, I honestly don't care. I don't think that needs to be a thing. But because there is some sort of like secrecy to that. That's how the Rumble used to be treated. You know, if
I
they
like the secrecy.
when they
I'm
would
with
do
you
the
there.
bingo and like they would
Oh,
draw the number and then it was like you hid what number you were. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
that kind of thing. Like, so I've not always been a huge fan of like declaring, but when they decide that that's what they're going to do, then it does feel pretty messed up that we're seeing like man after man after man be like, I'm declaring, and then there's like two women, and it's like, okay, but Triple H is supposed to be this like champion of women and like pushing the women's division and wanting them to be like the best women's division in all of wrestling. And then you're completely ignoring this like revolutionary match that you guys created however many years ago for the women to also participate. And you're not getting people excited when we're like I said, 11 days before the Rumble and you have two people that have declared for the match as opposed to like 15 or something for the men, and you're barely talking about it. Like, that's weird.
Yeah, like I'm with you. It is weird. Yeah, it does suck. The only thing I can see, and it seems like they've been doing this with the women for longer, is that when they are not hyping it up, there's more legends and
I
surprises and
hope that's
whatnot.
not what they're doing.
With the men, it seems like it's pretty straightforward, and you're gonna have maybe one or two shocking or surprises. Like, and for the I don't know, it just seems the way they're doing it is different in that regard, where I would like to see them hype up the Royal Rumble more by having both women and men be declaring for it,
Yeah.
because then you hype up the event itself by
Mm-hmm.
doing it. You're not making it a male versus female issue. You're
Yeah.
making it a Royal Rumble issue by not hyping it up on both ends.
Yeah.
And that's my,
Well,
I would say, quarrel with it.
and they have the talent for the women, for people to
Easily.
care. And if we're being honest, when we look at the Women's Royal Rumble, like the history of the Women's Royal Rumbles, the Elimination Chambers, and the Survivor Series matches, 9 out of 10 times, people say that the women's match was better than the men's. Like, that's fact. It's like
Yeah, I did say
almost
that.
every single year. So it's odd that like for a group of people in WWE that we know are chronically online, that they are not like more aware of this, because they know that people have talked like way better about the women's specific matches over the past couple years. So it's like to then just kind of disregard really hyping up the Women's Royal Rumble. It just feels like a complete disservice, and I don't get it. And the reason why it's even an issue, because it's, if we were talking about this 3 weeks ago, it's not that much of an issue. We have one Raw
11,
episode left.
11 days left,
Yeah.
Sarah.
So there's 2 SmackDowns and 1 Raw until the Royal Rumble. That's why it's a problem, because you're not giving us like enough time. Then instead, we're probably going to have like 5 girls declare on SmackDown and like a bunch of them on Raw. Like, if they're going to try and force it on us over the next week, and like that's not cool either, you know.
It's not.
Um
It's not. I just got an idea.
okay.
Not right now. It's not for the peeps.
Oh, okay.
It's not for
So
the
this is
peeps,
something that I
man.
just wanted to talk about quickly, because when it was announced that Ilya Dragunov had tore his ACL and that he was going to be out for 6 to 9 months, which you always have to tack on a little bit more, because if we're being honest, Charlotte tore her ACL and she's been out for more than a year. Ilya is being is reportedly going to be at the Performance Center this week. It's been 3 or 4 months since he tore his ACL. I'm not surprised about this because obviously if you follow this man on social media, you know the type of workouts and shit that he does. So like it's not surprising.
Gladiator type shit.
It's insanity. But
I don't.
I am so happy because it was such a huge bummer when he got hurt because it was like I wasn't thrilled with how they were using him, obviously, but it felt like, okay, well, he was getting on TV every week and he was doing these killer matches. Like maybe we're finally hitting that stride where he's going to be like actually doing something. And then he gets injured. So I'm excited to hear that like he's well on the road to recovery. I don't know what the hell this man is doing, but keep doing it. That's all I have to say.
I want to see this so bad. Not only from my dude Hang 'em High, aka Trips, for him to be happy that Ilya Dragunov is back on our screen, but just for the Wrestleverse in general. We need Ilya Dragunov on Raw to have classic after classic match with the likes of Penta, Gunther, obviously to rigor.
Penta versus Ilya.
That would go so fucking hard. Do we understand? I don't think the wrestling peeps understand the magnitude of how insane that match would be.
But this is the thing. It's like you can put him in a match with almost anybody and it's going to be a banger. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of wrestler that I don't really get why people don't support them more. You know, because like if you really love the art of professional wrestling and not just the storylines and the characters, it's like the actual wrestling, you guys should be like demanding that Ilya come back as soon as he can because he is one of the very few that you could argue any match that they put on is good. There aren't many people that can say that because like you can be a top guy in your company or you can be really good at what you do, but you don't necessarily put on great matches with anybody because either your styles are too different or you just can't, whatever the reason is. Ilya, it does not matter. It doesn't matter. Ilya could put on the banger against Great Khali.
He'd find a way.
He
would find a way. He'd read the Bible and go David Goliath for inspiration. Like he would.
Be so good.
I showed my cousins Ilya Dragunov versus Walter. It wasn't Gunther. It was Walter in NXT during Thanksgiving to give them a taste of what they've been missing since they took a break from watching it as a kid. And my dude Bob was hyped over this man. All right. So if you can get a casual fan like that to tune into Ilya and be like, I want to see another one of his matches, come on.
Yeah.
Hook, line, sinker.
So good. Another favorite thing of mine from Raw.
This was awesome. Kevin Owens, when he walked out, I have to get this off my chest. This was my fit. This is my fit. Like Kevin Owens is me. That is how I love him so much because he does shit like that where he walks out in a Bret Hart jacket in San Antonio with the championship that he claims is his, where it's basically that.
Yeah.
You know what? If we're gonna talk about Kevin Owens and fake champion, I'm just gonna do this, okay? And I'm gonna have my title because I'm the U.S. champion. Sarah.
So
the champion of us, the peeps.
This is another crossover because we know Kevin Owens is on SmackDown. However, this really made it an otherwise boring moment interesting because I love Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is in one of my all-time favorite matches. But I'm so sick of these certain wrestlers that just keep coming out every single week and just saying the same thing over and over and over again. That's all they're doing. I don't care. I don't care what you're saying. You're declaring for the Rumble. Good for you, brother. I don't care about anything else. You didn't need to come out here and say this. Okay. So then when Kevin's music hits, I was like, oh, here we go. You know, and I am so here for the manipulation of Sami Zayn from Kevin Owens, the mind games that he was playing with him. And not only that, I would love, because I feel like as great as Sammy is, I would say he's kind of stagnant right now, because he's not involved in the bloodline. He's not really doing anything with anybody really anymore. He's not going after Gunther. He's not involved in the intercontinental scene. Like, he's really just floating around, and he's being Sami Zayn. Like, there's nothing more. He's just like, he's a dude, I would honestly love to see him turn on Cody.
Sammy?
Yeah. To help Kevin. But
okay, I'm seated. Where are you going?
Because this whole premise, right? Like, Kevin's out there and he's like, you need to stop helping other people, but like, that's just who you are. Like, you are just a very cool guy, a very friendly guy, a very loving guy. You are always there for your friends. You do whatever they ask, or you do what you feel like they need from you. Blah, blah, blah. I know that you're going to be there for me against Cody Rhodes. I know that you're going to make sure, basically, that I'm going to leave with the WWE Championship because you're going to be in my corner. And when you're in that Royal Rumble, I'll be in your corner, and you're going to walk out, the Royal Rumble winner. And then we can main event WrestleMania one-on-one. The best case scenario, and I know it's probably not going to happen, but I love the idea of Sammy being like, you know what? I'm going to put me first. I am going to do whatever I can, as small or as big as it needs to be, to make sure that Kevin walks out WWE champion. Because I still think that a lot of us believe that there is a high chance that Cody loses to Kevin Owens. It feels like of anybody that he's going to lose to, Kevin Owens would be like the guy right now. Because if he helps Kevin win, that means he's putting himself first, because he wants that Mania match, and he wants a WWE championship. He wants a WWE championship opportunity. He wants a main event at WrestleMania, a one-on-one match at WrestleMania for that title. So him helping Kevin might be helping Kevin, but isn't it really helping him? You see what I'm saying? You get what I'm throwing
It's a real
down?
moral dilemma. I do see that. And that would be a really interesting wrench to throw into the whole Sami Zayn's character. Mm-hmm. Because when you think about it, Sami Zayn has never been for Sami Zayn. Even when he was doing championship title run, like when he won the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, who did he do it for? He did it for his family.
Yeah, it's for his family, to prove everybody wrong. It's
to prove it was for the people.
Yeah.
Sorry, it wasn't for him because he believed truly in his heart, regardless of what everyone thought, that he deserved to be champion. Mm-hmm. When it comes to a world title, all that shit gets thrown out the window. It's a world title, okay? To do that and go that selfish route, because you're right, it is not selfish on the surface, but if you dig deeper, it is a very selfish move, and definitely a page turner to the Sami Zayn we're seeing now, where he's going to help his best friend win the title so that he and his best friend can main event WrestleMania together again. Mm-hmm. And
I don't think that he has to win the Rumble necessarily either to get that done. But
I think I have Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
He doesn't. No one really has to win but that's another topic. But
I just mean because that's what Kevin said would be what needed to happen for them to have that match. But I'm saying I don't think that will happen.
No, they would. No, I don't. See, good point. Because I think Kevin would pick Sammy.
Well, yeah, and Cody could, like, if that match happens before the men's Rumble, Cody could pull him out or something. You know what I mean? For taking the title off him. Whatever. There's a way that it could still happen. Is all I mean.
The only question that I have to throw out there, because the entire wrestling community is going to ask this: does Cody need to walk into Mania as champion?
That's the thing. I don't know.
Really?
There is Well, because it's
Think from yeah.
Well, I think it's like a similar issue that we were talking about with Roman, right? Where like seeing Roman versus Cody part 2. If Cody wasn't the one to beat Roman, then who was, right? And obviously, it was almost 4 years at that point, so I'm not comparing the longevity.
You're not doing that.
But
you're doing
it feels like, okay, well, if it wasn't Cody, then who was it going to be? So it had to be Cody. And you could kind of say the same thing right now with Cody as champion. Like we don't know. He's not guaranteed a super long title reign the way that Roman was. Nobody is going to, you would assume, is going to have a title reign anywhere near that length, because they were purposely wanting Roman to be like in the books, to have, you know, this like incredibly long, unheard of reign of the 2000s, right? So like, I don't think that Cody necessarily has to walk in as champion. But then it's also like, okay, but are there other people who are better suited to dethrone Cody, whether it be at WrestleMania, whether it be after WrestleMania, than Kevin Owens? And I think there's an argument to be made in that regard. Like, if you're asking right this second, there's no one better than Kevin Owens right now. However, John Cena's back. Okay. Randy Orton, we haven't explored Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. Like, there are other people that could become like a big figure in Cody Rhodes' story as champion that we haven't seen yet, that might feel like that makes more sense or has more meaning to lose the title to than Kevin Owens. But it's like I said, it's a hard situation, because like, it took a lot, obviously, for Cody to beat Roman. So do you want him to be dethroned before even being champion for a year? I don't know.
Then that's where my mind goes, and that's where I have to, unfortunately, I love playing fandom here with my belt and whatnot, but we got to put it up here, because Sarah, I hate to break it to you, but it's not happening. KO.
I said that. I said
it's
that.
I know. I know you did. I'm making my point. Is it, you got to think the dollars and cents, wrapping it up in the sense that you have to think dollars and cents for WrestleMania. And I would love to book with my heart, but my heart doesn't pay the bills. And Triple H's and the rest of the WWE employees and wrestlers, their hearts don't pay the bills. So
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe if this was like not around WrestleMania time, then this would be something that was happening. Because like, if it were like SummerSlam or something, you know, something that is significant but not as big as Mania, then I think that this is a story that could happen, because I feel like it benefits everybody in the story. You know, it makes things a lot more interesting. I also kind of just want to see something more interesting with Sammy. Like, I don't know how long I can stay bought into this whole like, I love my friends. Like, okay, cool, bro. Like, I don't care about this every single week. Also, Kervin is just a Kevin Owens hater, because Kevin is doing some of the best work of his career. There's no reason to say that he doesn't deserve to be champion, or he'll never be champion. Yeah, see, the problem is like, I don't think we'll see. I don't know. I wouldn't be mad about Kevin Owens versus Cena at Mania, but I don't see that happening. And yeah, I don't know who Cody's facing at Mania, which is nice. Mostly because
I want to see Cena, please. Please.
I'm sorry, Final Boss, but I'm just really glad that The Rock is like not involved in the story this year, because we don't have to worry about it. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a whole lot to say about this, honestly.
What is it? Oh yeah, it's happening. It's announced. It's gonna happen. Cool.
I mean, again, like, it's nice that they're giving Rhea somebody that isn't teeny tiny girl that she could just like, you know, punt out of the ring easily. I don't love that they're just like abruptly moving on really with her and Liv, and not really doing anything with Liv, but I could complain about that till the end of time. So like, I don't love this. I don't hate it. It is what it is. I am curious Because as an outsider, as someone who does not care for CM Punk, I said this earlier, like with Sami Zayn, I don't love seeing the same people come out every single week and just flapping their gums and not really saying a whole lot. I said it too. I love Seth Rollins when Seth Rollins kept coming out, and granted, we didn't know at the time that he was like injured to a point where he like couldn't really wrestle. We didn't know that, but I hated that he was just coming out every single week, having the crowd sing his song, and he just said a whole lot of nothing just so that he could be on TV. And I feel like that's kind of where Sami Zayn is at right now. I feel like that's where CM Punk is at right now. And I'm like, are people caring about CM Punk specifically? Or do we not care because it's CM Punk and he is God? Therefore, there's nothing he can do that's wrong or boring.
Punk is just talking every week at this point because we need to protect CM Punk for the Royal Rumble. He is not the spring chicken that he once was, putting on match after match, week in and week out. And he's now reserved. He's put into that echelon of reserved for the big matches. So I love CM Punk. I could have him on my screen every week talking and whatnot. I find him so entertaining. So I don't care as much. I love that he called out Hulk Hogan and said that he wants to kill Hulkamania. That right as of right now, that is my rosebud of the week, is that CM Punk wants to kill Hulkamania. Just thank God, brother. So, if we're going to get shit like that, then yeah, I'm for it. And it's a good transition and segue into the next match. Other than that, cool. Like, let's get to the Rumble.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be somebody that I really like and cheer for. I get so tired of it because it just feels like such a waste of time. You're not saying anything you haven't already said. You're not saying anything interesting. You're not setting up anything. You're just out here to be on TV. And I get it. There are going to be times where that's necessary. But I think when it's the same person every single week, is it necessary anymore? You couldn't have filled that spot with somebody else or a different match or a different backstage segment. We just really had to listen to this dude blabber on for 3-5 minutes, whatever, about the same thing he just said last week. Like, I don't know. And I think with Punk, it's like when you're looking at it from a realistic standpoint, yeah, you get it. This dude's 46 years old. He's injury prone. And it's probably better to not have him wrestle all the time. However, they didn't really present him that way when he came back. He wasn't presented as like a luxury, like as a special event guy. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like it's kind of confusing. But like, as I said, I'm not a CM Punk fan, so I don't really care. But I also don't need to see him walking from his truck every day. I also don't need to hear him talk about how awesome he is every single week. So, I'd like to see something else. If I'm going to have to see CM Punk, can I see something else? That's all.
Okay.
And then finally, we get to the main event, which is Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. And I really think that this match might have rivaled their WrestleMania match.
It was very good. They were pulling some shit.
And I'm not saying like it was better than or anything. I'm just saying like this was a match that very easily could have been a PLE match and potentially a WrestleMania match. Like they were killing it. And this was just a solid reminder to, I think, a lot of people that one, Seth Rollins is still Seth Rollins. Doesn't matter if he's 10 years older or maybe he's not doing like as much aerial stuff as he used to when he was a heck of a lot younger. Seth Rollins is still Seth Rollins. And two, Drew McIntyre is that guy. Because there are people who still like don't acknowledge like just how fucking good he is. Like you can say he's really good on the mic. He's a really good troll on Twitter. Excellent, by the way.
He's a great troll.
But he's so good in the ring. Like so good. And so this matchup between them, I could watch it every single week. If that's the kind of stuff that we would get, I want to see it every single week. That is the definition of a main event. The storyline going along with it too, you know, even like when Drew was yelling at him and was like, we were supposed to be like allies, like we believe in the same thing, whatever. And I'm like, yes, this is why I said last week I didn't want to see this match happen, because I'm like, you guys are supposed to be buddies. You guys are mad at the same thing. So
But they're gonna lay it out in the ring. That's what I liked about it too, is that they killed each other. They fucking went after each other. There was some moves in there. There was one thing. It was they did a DDT revert, like spun, and then it went into Seth doing a Falcon's arrow. Yeah. Like that's some pay-per-view type stuff happening. It was awesome.
And I wonder in a way, like there are some people who, you know, they just have that chemistry when they're in the ring together, and it's like it's magic every single time, and it's possible that that's just what it is between these guys. But also you have to wonder if, because they're on Netflix and so they're probably being seen, well, no, not probably, they are being seen by a hell of a lot more people than they normally did when they were on USA Network, if that is like an added thing, you know what I mean, where it's like if you're going to get the main event of Raw on Netflix, like you want to show out and be like, okay, this is why you should be watching wrestling, and this is why you should be watching the entire show, you know, where it's like an added thing for like an added motivation for them to go out and do that, because they don't, neither of these guys have to prove anything to people who are a consistent watcher.
No,
but like
this is not. Yeah, that's why they had this be the main event of the third ever episode on Netflix, because they still want to treat it like a PLE type of feel for a main event. And that's how you're going to get the casual fan to become one of us.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you need to put on match like this. You can't just immediately throw Penta in the main event for Chad Gable because it's his debut. You know, the fan on Netflix is not going to understand that, and that's not your audience. So I like how they went with Seth and Drew, and they absolutely delivered, especially with the ending. Sarah, what do we think of that ending to the match? Speaking of Sami Zayn,
I'm telling you, that is another thing, though. This just goes back to my point of
someone's crashing out.
Sami choosing himself. Sami's choosing himself. And this is the thing. Even if he doesn't help even if Kevin doesn't win, I would love for Sami to come out and try to make it happen. Like, if we're not going to get my dream scenario of, you know, Kevin beats Cody, the dream scenario, I mean, and it's not like a dream, but I'm saying what I spoke about earlier. If we're not going to get that because Cody needs to be champion for Mania, can we at least have Sami come out there and like try to make it happen? Because that might be appreciated by Kevin at the very least. You know what I mean? And I would love to see a heel partnership between Kevin and Sami. That would be
sweet.
Because for the most part, we have not seen that before. They've always like butted heads. They've never really
start once when they were going up against Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan's Authority.
Yeah, but like, when was that? You know what I mean?
That was during the Kurt Angle is Raw GM days.
Yeah, exactly.
It was good. It was the best part of that, or one of the better parts of that era.
So I don't know. I just think that it would be cool, mostly for Sami, because heel Sami is so fun and he can be so annoying, you know, like we're talking about like the conspiracy era, you know, like we're talking about the bloodline era of Sami. Like, let's do something like that, but like pair him with Kevin, who's doing incredible work right now, and then have Sami just go on this whole run of wanting to be selfish, you know, like that's so much more entertaining. So I loved that this happened, because now he's going to have to speak for it. And it's like, okay, well, what is he going to say? I don't know. But we'll also have to see how Seth responds, because very clearly it was an accident. But Seth might not take it that way, you know?
Which way?
That's happened before, you know?
Let's see.
Let me see. Okay, Alex has said this, and I want to make sure. He said his grandpa cancer has spread in his 36 months to live. I am so sorry, Alex. And
if you have a GoFundMe, just throw it down in that comment section. People will help out. Need it to happen.
Yeah, all the thoughts to you and your
All the
family. I'm so
love.
sorry. Cortez says, "Yo, Sarah, I said there better not be no CM Punk chant during McIntyre, and they didn't, right? There was no Punk chant, right? I don't think so.
I did so much shit that's gone through my head today. I can't remember.
Hold on.
Oh,
But anyway, yeah. So that was Raw and SmackDown.
we had a little bit of a super show within the Raw Rewind.
Yeah, we'll have our. We're not doing a super show predictions for Saturday night's main event because it's kind of like, we'll have
talk about Saturday night's main event and we'll give like soft predictions, not
like the Rumble. The Rumble one I already scheduled.
One of those predictions. When is
yeah,
that
that's
again?
next Wednesday. We'll do that next Wednesday.
Yo, that's huge because I think we got asked to be on a show.
Oh, okay.
To be in a guest, and I think this is a good time to do it. So.
Okay, so I said, yeah, so I already scheduled it for next Wednesday so we can go over the predictions, and then that gives us enough time to like put out the videos in case you guys do not watch streams. But yeah, so we'll do Rumble stuff. But Saturday night's main event, we're not even gonna know the final card until SmackDown, so there's no real point.
Really. And you have to realize too, for anyone who is tuning into our show, similarly to a wrestling fan tuning into Netflix, a little insight to what Saturday night's main event is. It's not supposed to be a PLE type of feel like a SummerSlam, Survivor Series, War Games, Money in the Bank even. It's really just meant to be breaking up the whatchamacallit flow and give you, there's the flow before pay-per-views and stuff. And how there's the lull it gives that right there. But I lost my train of thought because we've been talking for a long time about this great product, and can't wait to keep doing it this week, Sarah, because big shit popping. Let us know if you'd be interested in Royal Rumble predictions as well, what your Royal Rumble predictions are in the comment section below, and follow my new Twitter account. Okay, I have a new Twitter. At Patty Pitts. All right. We got out with the old and with the new for 2025. So we ushered in a new Twitter account. Not doing it for the other accounts. Okay. It's really just Twitter. Because everything else is actually Patty Pitts. So go to check that out and follow Sarah's at S Marsh. I haven't said it in a while, so I forget. Fuck. I feel bad. I'm sorry.
My what?
Is it S Marsh? Just S Marsh.
On what?
Twitter.
Oh, Smarsh XO.
XO, that's what it was. Yeah. Okay. I forgot.
Smarsh _ on Instagram, but I don't really go on Instagram. So
that's what it was. That's the one I was thinking of. But yeah, S Marsh XO on Twitter for her. And yeah, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and bell notification to know every time we post and go live. We just had the interview with the victorious one, my dude BRG, talking about MLW and the indies. And I'll let you know right now, he is not the only wrestler that will be interviewing on the show this year. Because as I said, big shit popping in 2025. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. See you on Thursday this week. Yeah.